Hello, I'm Hope Logan. I am an actor on Bold and the Beautiful, and many people really love both me and our Bold and the Beautiful drama. So I've come here to share updates about my beloved Bold and the Beautiful. Everyone, please subscribe and support me. If you do, I will keep coming every day with new updates for you. In the world of the Bold and the Beautiful, the tension between Steffy Forrester Finnegan and Hope Logan Spencer is once again rising like a storm that refuses to settle. Beneath the polished surface of Forrester creations, old resentments are quietly turning into fresh conflict, especially as Hope continues to carry a major secret that no one around her suspects. Frustrated by endless delays and broken promises surrounding her hope for the future line, Hope finally reaches her breaking point and decides she can no longer wait for permission or patience from the Forrester leadership. That frustration pushes her into a bold and secretive move, signing a Logan contract behind the scenes and stepping away from Forrester Creations under the guise of a leave of absence. Meanwhile, Steffi shifts her focus toward ending Hope's hiatus and pushing forward with a relaunch announcement for Hope for the future, especially as the company begins moving away from couture priorities. In a carefully staged moment during the June 17th episode, Steffi even tries to soften their long-standing rivalry by highlighting their shared connection through Liam Spencer and their daughters, leading to an unexpectedly awkward hug that left everything feeling forced and uncertain. Even with Steffi's attempts to bridge the gap, Hope remains emotionally guarded and unwilling to simply erase years of resentment with a single embrace. What Steffi believes could be a step toward unity is, in reality, just another layer of deception unfolding beneath the surface. Hope continues to keep her new Logan-related career move hidden, maintaining the illusion that everything at Forrester is still intact, while quietly preparing for a very different future. She also remains committed to promises made to Katie Logan Spencer, choosing to honor her word even as it pulls her further away from Steffi's control. When the truth eventually comes out, Steffi is expected to see Hope's actions as a deep betrayal, another backstab in a rivalry already built on years of mistrust and competition. From Hope's perspective, however, this is not betrayal at all, but a declaration of independence, a decision to take control of her own career rather than remain at the mercy of Steffi's authority at Forrester Creations. As this fragile balance continues to collapse beneath the surface, the audience is left divided, watching a rivalry that refuses to cool no matter how many times peace is briefly suggested. Some viewers see Hope's actions as impulsive, believing she could have avoided this growing chaos with more patience and communication within Forrester. Others sympathize with her, understanding her desire for a fresh start after feeling sidelined, restricted, and emotionally drained by the constant turmoil at work. This divide only intensifies the drama, especially as spoilers hint that everything will erupt once Hope's new line is officially revealed, exposing the truth she has worked so hard to conceal. When that moment arrives, the fragile tension between Steffi and Hope is expected to explode into full-scale conflict, reigniting their rivalry in a way that could reshape both their personal and professional worlds. As the moment of revelation draws closer, the atmosphere inside Forrester Creations grows heavier, as if the entire building is unknowingly holding its breath. Every smile in the hallway feels temporary, every meeting laced with an unspoken tension that no one can fully name yet. Steffi, confident in her plan to move Hope for the future forward, remains unaware that the foundation beneath her decision is already shifting. Hope, on the other hand, walks through these same halls carrying the weight of her secret like a hidden storm, careful not to let even the smallest detail slip through her carefully controlled composure. The contrast between them becomes sharper with every passing day, one believing she is restoring order, the other preparing to break free from it entirely. And as the relaunch announcement edges closer, the sense of inevitability grows, as though both women are unknowingly walking toward the same explosive collision. When the truth finally begins to surface, it doesn't arrive quietly. It crashes in with the force of everything that has been buried. Steffi's discovery of Hope's hidden move and the Logan-backed deal reframes every interaction she thought was genuine, turning what once looked like cooperation into calculated deception. The memory of that awkward embrace, once just uncomfortable, now feels like a symbol of betrayal she never saw coming. Steffi's reaction is sharp, emotional, and deeply personal, fueled not only by professional frustration, but by a sense of trust being shattered in real time. Hope, meanwhile, refuses to see herself as the villain in Steffi's version of the story, standing firm in her belief that she acted out of necessity, not cruelty. In her eyes, she didn't betray Forrester, she reclaimed herself from it. What follows is not just a professional fallout, but a rekindling of everything that has always defined their rivalry: pride, resentment, and two completely different visions of control and freedom. The company itself becomes the battlefield once again, with loyalties quietly shifting and every decision suddenly carrying emotional weight far beyond fashion. Even those standing on the sidelines can feel the ripple effect as the conflict between Steffi and Hope begins to reshape alliances and reopen old wounds that were never fully healed. And as the tension continues to build, it becomes clear that this is no longer just about a single secret or a relaunch. It is about identity, power, and the impossible distance between two women who will never see the same truth the same way. As the fallout spreads through Forrester Creations, what was once a carefully controlled relaunch begins to feel like a public unraveling waiting to happen. Rumors start to whisper through the design rooms and executive offices, each one slightly different but all pointing toward the same growing fracture between Steffi and Hope. The anticipation around the hope for the future reveal no longer feels celebratory. It feels like a countdown to something irreversible. Steffi, now fully aware that something is off, begins tightening her control over the situation, determined to understand every detail behind Hope's recent actions. Meanwhile, Hope moves with quiet resolve, no longer able to fully hide behind secrecy, as if she already senses that the truth is closing in from every direction. Even Katie Logan Spencer's earlier support now feels like a fragile thread holding together something that was never meant to stay hidden for long. When the confrontation finally ignites, it doesn't unfold as a single moment, but as a chain reaction of emotions that have been building for far too long. Steffi's anger breaks through the polished professionalism she usually relies on, exposing the raw disbelief of someone who feels deeply undermined. She sees Hope's secret deal not as a personal choice, but as a calculated betrayal that threatens the stability of everything they've built at Forrester Creations. Hope, however, stands her ground with an intensity that surprises even her, refusing to shrink under Steffi's accusations and insisting that her decision came from a place of exhaustion, restriction, and the need to reclaim her own identity outside of constant control. The space between them becomes more than just physical, it turns into a symbolic divide between two opposing versions of loyalty, ambition, and independence. Every word exchanged only deepens the rift, making reconciliation feel less like an option and more like a distant memory. And as the hope for the future line finally steps into the spotlight, the tension reaches its breaking point in a way no one inside Forrester Creations can ignore. What was meant to be a defining professional moment becomes overshadowed by the emotional explosion behind the scenes, turning the launch into a backdrop for a much larger conflict. Steffi and Hope, standing on opposite sides of ambition and betrayal, are no longer just co-workers tied by history. They have become rivals locked in a cycle that neither seems able to escape. The shockwaves of this reveal don't just stay within the company. They begin to reshape every relationship connected to them, from family ties to business alliances. And as the dust begins to settle, one truth becomes unavoidable. This rivalry has evolved beyond control, and whatever comes next will not simply be another disagreement, but a turning point that could redefine everything they thought they understood about trust, power, and loyalty at Forrester Creations. In the aftermath of the explosive reveal, Forrester Creations no longer feels like the same place it was just days before. The air carries a lingering heaviness, as if every corridor and design studio has absorbed the shock of what just unfolded. Conversations that once revolved around fabrics, sketches, and seasonal visions now circle back again and again to Hope's decision and Steffi's reaction, replaying every detail like a story no one can stop retelling. Steffi remains visibly shaken beneath her composed exterior, struggling to reconcile the version of Hope she thought she understood with the one who quietly built an entirely separate path behind her back. Hope, meanwhile, finds herself caught in the strange space between defiance and isolation, standing by her choices while feeling the emotional distance growing between her and nearly everyone around her. Even the success of the Hope for the Future reveal feels complicated now, as victory and conflict become impossible to separate. As the emotional dust slowly begins to settle, the divide between them only becomes more defined, almost like two worlds drifting further apart despite sharing the same space. Steffi doubles down on her authority within the company, determined to reestablish order and prevent any further fractures from spreading through Forrester Creations. Her frustration is no longer just about business, it is personal, rooted in the belief that trust was broken in a way that cannot easily be repaired. Hope, on the other hand, refuses to step back or apologize for choosing autonomy over approval, even as the consequences of that decision begin to fully reveal themselves. She stands firm in her belief that she was pushed into a corner for too long, and that walking away was the only way to reclaim control over her future. This stubborn contrast between them transforms their rivalry into something even more intense than before, where neither side is willing to yield ground. And so what began as quiet frustration over a delayed fashion line has now escalated into a deeply personal and professional war that threatens to reshape the balance of power at Forrester Creations. Every interaction between Steffi and Hope now carries the weight of everything that has been said and everything that can no longer be unsaid. The possibility of reconciliation fades further into the background, replaced instead by a sharpened rivalry that seems destined to keep escalating. As both women dig deeper into their positions, one defending control and structure, the other defending independence and self-determination, the company becomes the stage for a conflict that feels far from over, and with tensions still simmering beneath every polished surface, it becomes clear that this is not the end of their story, but only the beginning of a far more volatile chapter that will continue to test loyalty, ambition, and the fragile boundaries of trust at Forrester Creations.